Hello everyone, welcome to another Maya 2015 tutorial. We're going to take another look at our solar system project here and take it a little bit further. As of right now, we got all of our planets done. We have the animations completed. We just need to actually take it a little bit further, create a starry background, and do a batch render on it. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start out by, typically you'd want to make a sky network out of a cylinder or out of a sphere, but I'm going to use a cylinder just because it's easier texture and it'll look better overall when we're done. So let's go ahead and create ourselves a polygon primitive cylinder, and I'm going to scale this cylinder up. There we go. Gonna make it nice and big. I'm going to go to my component mode and face mode, and I'm just holding down right mouse button on top of my object here. I'm going to go to face, select everything, and I'll deselect this middle area by holding down control, left mouse button drag, make this little box here, and that deselects the middle and leaves the top selected. Now I'll hit delete and get rid of the caps. Okay. Now I need to create a shader that will plug into this cylinder here. So bring back to object mode. I'm going to go to the hyper shade, click on this icon here, and we'll bring up my hyper shade and my perspective view at the same time. And now I'm going to create a new Lambert, and this one is going to be, I'll name it star background Lambert. Okay, and that's good. Okay, so now I need to assign this cylinder to the shader. So select the object, right mouse button the shader, assign material to selection. Okay, good. So now I'll select the shader because I need to attach the star texture that I went and found. Go to attributes, go to the color attribute, click on the little checker box next to it, go to the file, and click on folder here. This will allow me to find that texture that I want to use for my star background. Okay, that's great. All right, so our starry background has been applied to our cylinder, and as you can tell, it looks a little stretched. Doesn't look like a very good starry background, and that's just because we need to adjust the UVs on this. So I'm going to select the object, and I need to go into UV mode to be able to edit these. So I'm going to exit out of my hypershade. I'm done here. Press spacebar inside my viewport. I'm going to click on this icon right below the outliner icon with the little squiggly line for the graph editor. That will give me this split view here so that I got a little work area for my UV texture editor, and I also have my cylinder still in view here. So I'm going to go to Panels, Panel, UV Texture Editor. There we go. Now I need to go to UV mode so I can adjust the size of these UVs to take up this 1x1 Cartesian area here so that way I have all the texture information covered. So I'll just scale up this UV set until it fills this entire area. Now these UVs, this image here that I have plugged into the shader, this repeats infinitely in all directions. So now that I have all the texture information taken up here, I just need to scale the entire set evenly so that I can get a little bit more stars in here. So, because right now it still looks a little fuzzy, and when you get down to the size of the planets, this is going to look really big. So I'll grab this middle one here, make sure that the blocks on the end are both moving, and then I will scale and scale and scale until the stars are pretty small, which that looks pretty decent. Okay. Alright, so you see like the UV set is now huge, which is fine. The pattern repeats it over and over again and over here. You see that we have better detail now over here. Now I need to make it to where the UVs, because right now the UVs are facing out. That's the way that UVs usually typically work. You have your face here and your UVs usually point away from it. That's the reason why if you look on the inside here it's just black. So we need to flip the UVs onto the insides, and Really, I may have just misspoke. What faces out is the normals. The normals usually just face in one direction. UVs are the direction on the face of the geometry. Um, so the U and the V direction, like the X and Y direction. So the normals face out on the faces. We need to make it to where they face in, so that star texture is projected inside the cylinder. So I'll go to need to switch my from dynamics to polygons, and then I'll go to normals, reverse. So now my starry texture is on the inside. Perfect. That's what I want. Okay. Also, I don't really necessarily need a black background since so I think I'm going to actually mess with the transparency on this particular shader because when you render the stars will be here, but the background will be black either way. So let's go knock the transparency up just a little bit. And that'll also help me working on my stuff so I can see all my stuff inside there. Okay, that's good. Alright, so now that I got my star background, let's go ahead and do a test render, see what we're looking at here. Okay, that looks okay. Now we need to set up a virtual camera, and that will help with doing our render here. So I'm going to create myself a camera. Go to Create, Cameras, Camera. Okay, we'll translate that guy out. Rotate him because right now, if you look at it, it looks like a film camera, and there's the end of it. I need to make sure it's facing the sun and the solar system. Okay. And I'll translate it a little further out because once I animate it, I know that's gonna need to be further back. That's fine. Okay. And I really can't see what this thing is seeing right now, so I need to actually be inside this camera here to see if I'm getting a good view. So to do that, I'm going to go to Panels, Perspective, Camera 1. That's the one we just created. Alright, so now I'm inside this camera. So when I press play, the solar system kind of goes around. Good. I want to have a little bit more of an angle at it so I can see this unravel a little bit better. So I'm inside the camera. I can manually move the position of this guy. It's going kind of slow because I'm so close, but there we go. It looks fairly decent. Okay, I like that perspective. So that'll work for now. Now, let's see here. Alright, so this center one here, if I press play, we'll get to a spot here. Alright, so I'll stop it there. Let's see here. I want to make sure that the lights are on so I can see what I'm looking at with lights. If I turn the lights on, everything kind of turns dark because there are no lights in the scene yet. So I need to actually create myself a virtual light. So to do that, I'm going to go to Create, Lights, Point Light. And this point light, it dropped right in the middle of the scene, and it lights up everything else, but we need to make some adjustments here. Right now we have the light on the inside, and this geometry is blocking some of it. So we need to go to the render stats over here. So it says Mesh Shape tab underneath the attribute editor. There's one that says Render Stats, and we need to make sure that Cast Shadows is turned off on this guy. So now, when we render, the lights will cast out on all of these planets, which is good. So if I render now, let's see what we're looking at. Okay, so you can see now that these planets are kind of floating out here. That looks good. The sun is still pretty blown out as far as the image goes, but we'll just have to adjust the attributes on it and we'll get that back. So I turn this off, click the sun, and we just click on the sun Lambert. So right now, since the light is on the inside, there's no light casting on the outside. We need to be able to get the color back. So to do that, we'll turn the ambient color up. That makes it to where it seems like it's being illuminated even though it's not, and that will make it to where we can see our sun texture again. We'll dial back the incandescence too. Okay, so let's see what we're looking at now. Okay, that looks good. Might need a little bit more incandescence because it doesn't seem like it's quite bright enough to be the sun. Oh, that works. Okay, that's good. Now the ambient color, that's something you can actually mess with on all of them, and it actually isn't a bad idea to do because since there's only one light, like the back colors on these plants is really dark when it's nighttime. So if we add some ambient color, it'll make it to where each one will uh, have more of a shaded look rather than just a black look. Okay. What I'm doing, since I'm already in the attribute editor, already underneath the shader, um, I'm able to just click on the next planet and it opens up the tab with that shader, so I can easily just bounce through all of these guys and take care of them all at the same time. Okay, so as you can tell now just from looking at it, you can see that it's not so black on this side. It looks like it's more shaded, which is kind of what I'm after. Alright, so that looks good. Let's get out of this camera view. We're going to go to Panels, Perspective, Perspective. Okay, that's great. Alrighty. So now if I wanted to add one little last touch to this, and I kind of do, I want to add a rotation for this camera so it seems like it's kind of spinning with the solar system. On frame 1, to do that, I want to put it in a group like I did with the planets. So Control G, holding with the camera, and now that the camera is grouped, so I can use the pivot point from the group to spin the camera. So on frame 1, I'll hit S, and that keyframes all the channel boxes here. Now if I go to, let's say, frame 200 and rotate it, I have auto keyframe on, but if I hit S, it'll put that keyframe in there. So now I have a keyframe on frame 1, on frame 200, I go back, and I hit play, and there we go. Good. You see my camera is also rotating slightly. That's good. Alright, let's back this up. Okay. Now before we go and render, I want to also look over at the timeline presets. So some people have talked to me that they've had issues with this where it plays nice and slow at some point, and then sometimes it goes really fast on different computers, and that has to do with the timeline presets. So we're going to click on this icon right here. It's right next to this little key on the bottom right, and it pulls up in this this timeline preset. Now, right now it says play reframe, which means it's playing kind of fast. I can change this from play reframe to real time 24 frames per second, and that will slow it down. So let's go ahead and save that. Hit play. Alright, that looks okay. Go back. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and save since I'm almost ready to do my batch render. Continue. The next thing I gotta do is I gotta make sure that the render settings before I do my batch render are set up the way I want them. So render settings are set up underneath this little movie tape looking thing with the little wheels on the side. So I'll click on that guy. We're going to be rendering using Maya software. We're going to change this from, and right now it's set up underneath users, owner, desktop, animation 2, final projects, animation 2. And I don't want animation 2 to be the project I'm using, so I need to change this. I need to go to File, Set Project, because if I don't do this now, it'll dump all the rendered images off into this final project, and that's not where I want them to go. I want it to go to my computer, on the D drive, my Maya projects, and they have Solar System View. Okay, we're going to set it for that one. So now when I render, it'll dump all my images in there. That's what I want. Okay. Now I need to go back into my render settings here. Now I can see that the new path is set to where it goes Maya, projects, solar system, new images. That's where I want them. Okay. Now if I look down a little bit another level here, we have file output. So it says image format, Maya FF. That's what I want. Next one says frame animation extension. Right now it's set up for single frame. I want more than one frame, so I need to change it to name.number.extension. Okay, perfect. Frame padding at 4, great. Now frame padding means like how many zeros you have. So yeah, if you have frame padding of 1, it can only go up to 9. 2 goes up to 99, 3, 999, and then like 4 you're up into the thousands. So we're going to be dealing with up to frame 200. So I'm going to say that this cuts off end frame is at frame 200. Frame padding, we only need up to 3. As you can see, there's just 3 zeros. That's good. Okay. And now go down a little bit further and it says which camera are we going to use. We're not using the perspective camera because we created our own. So I need to go find camera 1. That's the one we just created. Okay, that's good. Now presets. I'm not going to render in 540 HD. I want 1080 HD because that just seems to be standard. Everything uses 1080 HD, so we're just going to go with that. Alright, let's go a little further down, and that looks like it. Okay, you could also go over to my software over here, and you can turn it from low quality to medium, high quality. But for right now, for this project, I think low quality is fine. We're not going for some kind of amazing solar system project at the moment. If I want to ramp up the game and make things look more realistic, I'd probably ramp that up as well. But our project is very basic, so that's good enough for me. So I'll go ahead and hit close. All right. So now I need to batch render. All my stuff is all set up. I just need to batch render it out. So I'm going to go to polygons, rendering, renderer, and batch render. Okay. So if I click on this guy, it says use all available processors, which means that as soon as I click OK, all my cores are going to start to render, which is typically what you want unless you're doing something else. So I'll say yes, go ahead and batch render and close, and from here Maya will take over. So batch render and close. It'll ask me if I want to save. Yes, I want to save. Continue, and you'll see down here in the bottom right that Maya is getting its software ready to render, and once it's ready to go, it's going to start doing a percentage runoff for every frame that's rendering. This can take, for this particular project, it will take about 5 or 6 seconds per frame, but for bigger projects, this can take up to like 30 or 40 minutes per frame to process. So definitely do test renders to see what you're getting yourself into. You may need to have some kind of render server or a render farm set up, or have a specific computer set up for doing rendering. But if you look down here, you can see how fast this is going. We have starts it up and it goes through every frame in about 5 seconds, which is good. Right now it's on frame 6, doing frame 7 now. I have 200 frames, so I imagine this will probably take about, depends on how consistent the rendering is. Sometimes it takes a little longer than other times, but it can take anywhere from 3 minutes to 10 minutes. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and save or sign off. I'm going to go ahead and end the lesson for right now, and we're going to pick up the next lesson with the batch render already completed, and we're going to jump into After Effects and actually make a composition and render out a finished video. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next lesson.